All right, well, we are here at the Tesla Supercharger in Malta, New York, which is a V3 250 kilowatt supercharger. We're juicing up the Model Y here, and another Model Y that just pulled in. And we're here at a Stewart's shop. So this is a 8-stall Tesla Supercharger installation. This last one here is apparently offline, and there was an electric truck that was here, although just kind of blocking a spot, not doing anything before. But you can see not exactly high demand right now, plenty of empty spots. But while I was here, I wanted to talk a little bit about how Tesla's supercharging network is evolving and what it looks like is going to be happening now with some of the latest announcements coming out of Tesla in the White House. So stick with me and we'll get into it. All right, so we are charging up quite quickly here at the Tesla Supercharger, and I think this really is just a great example of how absolutely incredible Tesla's supercharging network is, and just what a great competitive advantage it is over other EVs. So this trip that we're doing up to Stowe, Vermont, which is about a 7-hour drive for us, we're only adding a grand total of about 50 minutes of stopping, and that's so that we can fully charge even to get up there. Or not just to make it up there, but to be like almost at full charge when we get up into Stowe, so we have enough energy to drive around. Whereas if we were to do this trip in a CCS car, it would actually add closer to 2 hours because the charging stations are more off of the way that we need to go, and much slower. So this is really helping us get there much faster. But recently, actually just the other day, the White House came out and basically dropped some big news about Tesla opening up their supercharging network and the commitment that they're making there over the next 2 years or so. Wasn't really a surprise. Tesla's been sort of alluding to this, and it's largely in line with what is being done by Tesla in Europe, where they have run at least in select stations, although quite a bit of them, open network for charging non-Tesla vehicles on the superchargers. So what was announced was that Tesla is going to be doubling their network and opening to non-Tesla cars in select locations by the end of 2024. And this is going to be done through Tesla's app. So there's not going to be any plug-in charge or payments at the chargers, as far as we can tell. And that's basically like exactly how it works in Europe and Australia, I think New Zealand, and a few other places around the world right now. But what that means is that sort of similar to like Electrify America or Blink or EVgo, you'll be able to, even not as the owner of a Tesla vehicle, have an account in the Tesla app, install that on your phone, and then basically like when you get to a supercharger, you'll just select which one you're at, and then all the payment and everything will be handled through the app. And so it'll do that instead of using a credit card or anything like that right at the charger. Maybe some of that will change in the future too, but it seems like that's kind of the path of least resistance and more consistent with what they do in Europe for now. The way this is actually going to work, actually if you come out with me, I'll show you basically what's going to happen here. So Tesla looks like they're going to be doing something they're calling the Magic Dock adapter, which is essentially going to be at the end of the plug here. There'll be a little adapter that goes to CCS, and it will basically just sit in here. And so the way this is this is locked, and when you say that you're going to be charging here with a non-Tesla car, with a CCS car, it's basically just going to unlock that adapter. It'll be like locked onto the end of the charging cable here, and basically you'll just have to use that. So sort of be interesting like lock in there. If you just pull in and are doing this through a Tesla, it'll just kind of continue to work the way that it does now and use the Tesla cable. And so that's actually a pretty smart way, I think, that they're doing it. It means that, yes, they'll have to come retrofit the charging posts to put those in, but it's a much smaller thing than like having to change out the cabling or the chargers themselves. So should be a pretty quick thing for them to do. And then they can just directly add that on to the new ones as they get installed. So I think, maybe some of them are going to get kind of retrofitted in on existing stations, but by far the majority of them are probably just going to be on new installs that get built out as they double the supercharging network over the next 2 years. So basically the reason that they're doing this, or one of the reasons, is that there's $7.5 billion in federal funding available. That's only available for chargers that work with more than one manufacturer. So Tesla had tried to sort of get around this with what they were calling the North American Charging Standard last year, which was basically just using the Tesla standard, but opening it up to other manufacturers if they were interested. But that didn't really gain very much traction, and so unfortunately Tesla is still the only manufacturer that uses the Tesla network. So instead they're going to do this, and by opening up to CCS cars now, it will actually make them eligible for those funds, which is part of why this was announced by the White House. So what they've committed to is that they're going to build out at least 7,500 super and destination chargers being available by the end of 2024. And that means that at least, within that, at least 3,500 will be new and existing 250 kilowatt V3 or beyond superchargers. And along with that, they're going to at least double the supercharging network. So exactly how all of that works out is definitely to be determined. It's not exactly clear how many are going to be destination chargers, how many might be slower V2 superchargers of that 7,500. But at least 3,500 will be a combination of new and existing V3 and above ones, which give you the truly fast charging like this one that we're sitting at here. So I think, this is definitely a big change and going to be an interesting one for Tesla. I think there's a lot of questions that are still going to have to get answered, and a lot of things will be determined as time goes on, as we get closer to the end of 2024 and we start to see how some of this rollout happens. But I think an interesting thing that's going to happen here is, what is this going to mean for the popularity and wait times at superchargers? So you can see right now we're at this charger, and it's actually filling up. We're up to four stalls being taken up here. Actually all by Model Ys, which goes to show the popularity of this model in particular. But it's still like kind of early in the day on a Thursday, and I can see this stop getting pretty full up pretty quickly, and this is without anything that's not a Tesla. So if they start allowing the non-Teslas here, just how much busier is it going to get? Are we going to start having wait times? This stop here really is not at all set up to have much of a wait. There's a little bit of room over there where I guess you could get a line, but we're at a gas station, and it's just not really set up for that in any logical way right now. So they're gonna have to institute some sort of like queuing system in the app and in cars to handle this, or are they just gonna have it be a free-for-all? Could be quite interesting. Another big question is, will Tesla have to change the layout of these installations, maybe add longer cables and stuff to facilitate other EV charge ports? Because right now these are super designed for Teslas, and you can see the the way that it's designed basically only really accommodates Tesla. The cables are short enough that you can't do any other sort of install or any other sort of like charge port location. So the CCS cars, like a Rivian where it's in the front but pretty far back on the hood, or a Taycan where it's like much further down on the driver's side door. I think they're just going to have issues with the cable being long enough to even plug in at these, and that's assuming that they can pull forward into these. There are more and more. This one doesn't actually have it, but I've seen a lot of the other locations do have like a pull through stall usually, but it's usually just one. And so are they going to switch to more of those? There have been some reports of newer installation having different kind of configurations and layouts, so they might have to start doing that more to enable more of these. Another big question is like, how far is Tesla really going to go with these? Are they going to really retrofit a lot of these existing locations kind of along the main corridors and in super important locations? Or are they just going to kind of do the minimum and maybe build out a much smaller set that is just enough to get the federal money, but not necessarily really help out the other EV manufacturers all that much? Another big question is how much is it going to cost for non-Tesla drivers? Are they going to use pricing as a way to kind of manage the lines and make sure that Tesla owners are prioritized over others? So basically, they're going to charge more for non-Tesla EVs than they do for Teslas, and kind of get prioritization that way. How are they going to go and compete with the other charge point operators like Electrify America and EVgo? Are they going to try to stay competitive with those? Or are they going to charge more, kind of keeping it more as like a almost premium offering for charging? Are they going to increase the idle fees and maybe charging beyond 80-90%, have higher rates for that to keep people from sitting at these as long and motivate them to not sit here in black spots, so that they can increase the throughput? And in Europe right now, they actually offer a membership plan that helps bring down the cost for non-Tesla drivers. Are they going to bring that over to the US to try to get people to kind of sign up for membership and be incentivized to just use the Tesla ones all the time? Remains to be seen too. And then I think a big question for Tesla itself is, is this going to decrease people's reason to buy a Tesla? Like the supercharging network itself is, I think, a huge reason for a lot of people to go with a Tesla over other EVs. Is a big part of, the price itself was probably the biggest part, but the secondary part was of why we didn't end up going with our Mach-E delivery was just the advantage that you have with the Tesla supercharging network. So removing that, I think, is probably going to have a non-trivial impact on Tesla demand. And then last, I think, big question for me is this a good thing or not? I think it is great that everyone is going to have more choices, that, there'll be more availability, especially in remote locations, off of the coasts where right now there are not non-Tesla charging options. So more corridors will be opened up now, and there'll just be more options for people. It'll get more people to move to EVs, I think, overall. But is it actually a good thing overall for us to be locked into, one really big charging network, sort of at the cost of others? I think, more competition in the space is a good thing. And so it's probably good that we are basically merging them together, and especially with the Tesla adapter for CCS stations now, it's basically we're going to be in a situation where regardless of what EV you drive, you'll be able to charge either at Tesla locations or non-Tesla ones. So it actually increases competition in that way. But I think with this extra money going to Tesla and just the how much of a competitive advantage it's been, I think that really it benefits Tesla more than it does the others. And I just worry about the lock-in that's going to cause, and it's really just going to kind of perpetuate the usage of Tesla and help them build out even more, and probably not support so much of the other ones. So a lot of this remains to be seen. It's early days right now. A lot of stuff still has to be worked out in terms of details of it all, but I think it's just going to be really interesting to see kind of what ends up happening here, and what the situation ends up looking like for Tesla. Are we going to start seeing much more full stations as non-Tesla EVs are able to use them? And it's also going to be an interesting time, I think, in terms of EV behavior. Are the Tesla owners at Tesla superstations going to kind of look down upon the non-Teslas that are here? Are there going to be issues where people are getting into fights and stuff because of non-Teslas using the Tesla superchargers, and probably adding more lines and a wait for Tesla owners? And how are Tesla people going to feel about this? It's removing a big advantage that they had, and sort of part of what made the brand premium from an ownership perspective. So I think, that stuff might not last all that long. People get used to seeing non-Teslas here and seeing Teslas at, Electrify America and other stations. I think some of that stuff will kind of go away, but I think in the short term, it's going to be an interesting situation. And, I think it's going to be hard for people that are used to the current way of things to adapt to. It could be an interesting situation, and hopefully it goes smoothly. And if this is done the right way, I think it's a great thing for all EV owners, and it's going to help move the market more. But as a Tesla owner myself, I'm cautiously optimistic about it, but I'm also just a little bit worried and a little bit pessimistic about how the rollout's going to be done and what it's going to mean for me. All right, well, with that, thank you so much for watching. Let me know below in the comments what you think this rollout's going to do. Is this a good thing for Tesla owners? Is this a good thing for non-Tesla owners? Is it good for everybody? Definitely let me know what your thoughts on the subject are, and keep letting you know how things are going as the rollout starts happening. With that, thanks so much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.